What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Cinema Recap. Glad to have you here as always. So today we're going to jump right into this 1940s China, and we open in the head office of the Super Crime Fighters, otherwise known as the local police force. But these aren't your regular cops, simply because of how cowardly they all are. Like really just big old cowards. Despite the office being full of them, they're more than happy to sit back and watch a local gang member beat the living daylights out of one of their officers. Turns out that this guy's a member of the Crocodile Gang, and his wife was recently arrested for spitting. So naturally, he's pissed. Once he dispatches with the humiliated officer, he reminds the cops who they really work for, him. And then, feeling pretty chuffed with himself, he strolls outside with his wife in tow, thinking that the job's done. Only it isn't. Waiting outside for the Croc Gang is an even bigger and badder street gang known as the Axe Gang. There are hundreds of them, and they promptly tell the Crocodile Gang that this town is now theirs, and the cops work for them. And just to prove that point, they kill the last few members of the Crocodile Gang with a little bit of fancy axe play. And then, they dance. No, really. To celebrate their newfound role as criminal overlords of the city. The Axe Gang engage in a choreographed dance number, just in case you didn't know how tough they really were. Next up, we cut to a poorer part of the city known as Pig Alley. These poorer areas are free from gang violence, as the gangs have no real reason to bother trying to control them. And indeed, although it might be a poor area filled with poor people, it's also clearly a very happy little paradise, most likely on account of the lack of gang violence. The two main players in Pigsty Alley are the landlord and landlady. We meet landlord first, as he goes about his daily business. At first, he seems like a nice enough guy, and well, he is. We see his tenants treating him with the utmost respect, although that might be because they just want cheaper rent. But a little bit more time spent with landlord shows us that he's actually a bit of a creep. He uses his power to hit on the local women and basically take advantage of anyone he can. Lucky then that his wife, the landlady, is there to keep him in line. She's a bit of a handful actually, and clearly someone who the rest of the tenants are terrified of.
Did you forget to pay your taxes? There's no more water down here.
When we first meet her, the locals are complaining that the water has run out. But in response, all she does is yell at them and tell them that the water isn't free and they have to pay. And beats up her husband pretty bad for hitting on all those women earlier. So at least that's something. Really, it's just a small community of poor tenants held together by a landlord and landlady. Infinitely better than having to deal with gangs. But their world is about to be rocked when two vagrants, Sing and Bone, arrive from nowhere. They're dressed reasonably well and look like they might actually be people of importance, people to be feared. They approach the local barber and Bone gets a haircut, but when it's finished, Sing reveals to the barber that they're in fact members of the Axe Gang. And if the barber doesn't want any trouble, you better give him some money. But this barber's not having it. He refuses to buckle, demanding that Sing and Bone pay for their haircut. Well, Sing refuses.
You may kill me, but thousands more will spring up in my place.
But Sing isn't scared. Well, he is. But he pretends not to be. As the tenants of Pigsty Alley surround him, he pretends that he wants to fight them all, while at the same time actually refusing to fight anyone. It's a cheap trick that buys him some time until landlady comes down to deal with him. Well, she's not having any of it and begins to beat him with her sandals to chase him off. But then, in a final desperate act, Sing lights a firecracker and tosses it over his shoulder, hoping to scare somebody off. Unfortunately, it ends up doing the complete opposite. From nowhere, an entire squad of Axe Gang members appear. Worse, that the firecracker hit one of them and singed his hair. And even worse, that Sing runs to him and claims that he's on their side and the landlady was the one who threw the firecracker. And as to the landlady, she takes one look at that gang and literally runs to the bed and hides under the covers. The Axe Gang want to know who's responsible for throwing that firecracker. The barber tells him that he's not afraid of him, but when the Axe Gang pull out an actual axe and threaten him with it, but then something happens. We don't see what it is, but somehow the gang leader has ended up across the clearing and stuffed into a barrel like a sardine. And what's more, nobody saw who did it. The Axe Gang's so angry that they call in the rest of the gang, and a mere moment later, 100 more gang members turn up, each with their own axes, each looking to tear Pigsty Alley apart. The leader of the gang, brother Sum, is there too, and he's demanding to know who did this.
I will count to 3.
This time, the culprit steps forward. He's just a regular looking guy, coolly. But once he reveals himself and the Axe Gang attack him, turns out he's a kung fu master. He quickly starts fighting hundreds of gang members back, but there's just too many of them. He's getting overwhelmed, and it's not looking good. But then, 2 more kung fu masters appear. Their names are Donut and Taylor, and with Cooley, the three of them tear through the gang like axes through paper and promptly send them on their way. Brother Sum, the leader of the Axe Gang, isn't really happy with this, nor is he happy with Sing or Bone, the two responsible for the fight in the first place. He has him tied up back at his lair and orders him to be killed. An axe gets thrown at Sing, but having lockpicking skills, he freed himself before it hits him. His ability with a lockpick immediately impresses the Axe Gang, and Brother Sum has a change of heart, ordering to let the two go while letting them know that they can come back and join the gang anytime, so long as they kill someone first. Back on the street now, Sing is excited about this chance to join the Axe Gang. He then tells Bone the story of how he came to be a thug, rather than going down the good guy path as he originally intended. When he was a child, a street merchant sold him a copy of a martial art booklet, promising Sing that he had what it took to be a true martial arts expert. The merchant was lying though, and the moment that Sing tried to use his newfound skills, he had his butt kicked. There was a mute girl being picked on by a bunch of bullies, and Sing tried to step in and save the day. But of course, he got pummeled, and quickly realized that doing the right thing wasn't for him, and it still isn't. All he and Bo need to do is kill someone, and as luck has it, Sing knows exactly who to get. But before he does that, he decides to steal ice cream from a poor street vendor, just in case you might have started rooting for Sing in this movie. Back in Pigsty Alley, landlord and landlady are trying to decide what to do about these three kung fu masters who have suddenly appeared out of nowhere. The citizens of the alley beg her to let them stay. They did save their lives after all. The landlady is as mean as she is cold, and she decides that the only option is to throw them out, for the safety of Pigsty Alley.
Stop sniffling! This isn't a funeral!
As this is going on, Sing and Bone creep back into the alley with the intent of killing the landlady, so as to get on Axe's good side, and his efforts at knifing her just see the knives bounce back and stick him instead, several times. Even worse, that landlady eventually sees him, and when she does, she gives him chase, and now we're treated to a Looney Tunes style chase scene, and I mean that in the most literal sense. With the knife sticking into his body, he flees down the street chased by landlady. They sprint on the roads, under cars, jump over billboards, or not. Landlady didn't make it over that one, squashing against it like an insect. Free now, Sing runs back to his hiding space, where he assesses his injuries. This scene's a little weird, I'm not gonna lie. For reasons we don't know, Sing's body starts to heal itself, and it also looks like he might have been given temporary super strength, but when we see him in the next scene with Bone, he shrugs it off and acts like it's no big deal. Meanwhile, Brother Sum is still smarting from his humiliation in Pigsty Alley, but he didn't get to where he was by giving up. He got there by killing people, which is exactly what he's gonna do to those kung fu masters in Pigsty Alley. He puts the word out and ends up hiring three of the baddest killers he can find. And sure enough, the next scene we cut back to the alley, where we see these hired assassins get to work on their contract. They take out Cooley, the first kung fu master, easy enough. But it's not really fair because he wasn't paying attention. The next two, however, take a little bit more work. What we get here is a very unique scene, where the assassins are using musical instruments to produce flying knives and swords in the air. Something like Doctor Strange 2, only cooler. So effective, in fact, that pretty soon the two kung fu masters are down and nearly out, looking like it might be all over when landlady and lord jump in. Landlady's furious with the noise this fight is causing, not to mention the damage to her apartments. So she and her husband join the fight and reveal themselves to be even better fighters than the other three masters and the assassins. They make short work of these assassins, making it look like child's play. And then they finish them off with the lion's roar move. And when they're done with that, they somehow appear in Brother Sum's car and warn him to stay the hell away from Pigsty Alley, unless he wants to end up like those assassins. He tells him that he will, but somehow I'm getting the sense this guy's a slow learner. Back at the alley, the residents want to know why landlord and landlady only chose now to step in and do something. If they had acted sooner, they might have been able to save lives. Lord and lady explain that they used to be great masters, but they lost their son to an act of revenge. Because of this, they swore to never fight again. But now the residents are begging them to seek justice and get revenge against the Axe Gang. Meanwhile, Sing and Bone are still struggling. Sing's all furious that his life isn't what he thought it would be, and starts to blame Bone because of it. But then he sees the ice cream girl from earlier, and Sing has an idea to just steal from her instead. And he does that too, holding her up with a knife, demanding her money. Ice cream girl isn't scared though, and when she speaks to him using sign language, Sing realizes that it's the same little girl he tried to save all those years ago. Shame overtakes him in that moment, and although he still steals the money, he gives it to Bone and tells him to leave, to run off and never see him again. It looks like Sing's life is crashing down around him, but he's saved pretty quickly by the Axe Gang, who grab him off the street and announce that they want him to join their gang. Sing is beyond beyond excited until he learns that his new membership comes with a condition. Brother Sum and his advisor drag Sing out to a random mental hospital in the middle of nowhere, where they tell him he's to use his expert lockpicking skills to break out a prisoner inside. His name is the Beast, and he's the #1 killer in the world. Sing isn't so sure, but he does what he's told. And when he comes across Beast in his prison cell, well, he isn't sure what to make of him. As you can see, this guy doesn't exactly look like the world's #1 killer, or any killer for that matter. He tells him that he is, but that he doesn't kill just anyone for any amount of money. What he wants is a challenge, a chance to fight a true master, an actual worthy adversary. Even still, the Axe Gang isn't buying it and demand that he proves himself. First, the Beast takes a beating in the face. He's laughing it up while the guy tries to wallop on him.
How come you call yourself a gangster?
Next, he grabs a gun, fires it right into his own face, only to catch that bullet with his fingers. That's right, you saw that correctly. He caught that damn bullet. This guy's legit, and he's about to give a chance to prove himself too. He suddenly gets up, kicking a hole through the wall into the next room. It's a casino, and although most of the patrons flee in fear, 2 remain behind. It's landlord and landlady. They've come here to take down the gang once and for all, but now that Beast is here, well, they might as well deal with him first. And that's exactly what they do. The next few minutes see us treated to an epic martial arts fight. It's kind of like your standard Bruce Lee film with a lot of Matrix thrown in there for good measure. The moves these guys pull are unbelievable and ridiculous, totally wild. And although landlord and landlady are indeed masters, it's pretty clear quickly that Beast is on another level. Landlady even tries her famous lion's roar on him, and still he just keeps coming. But these two have a backup plan. They brought a giant bell with them, and as the Beast beats him down, they chop off the end and turn it into a megaphone. Landlady then uses it to amplify her lion's roar, and the effect, but it's a trap. The Beast pounces and gets the two in a sort of head and body lock. With the two disarmed, Brother Sum commands Sing to whack them over the head with a piece of wood and kill him. End it. But Sing has a moment of conscience, thinking about the ice cream girl, realizing he's going down the wrong path. He instead smashes the Beast over the head. The Beast takes it personally, hops up and beats down on Sing. But even that's not enough. He smashes his head into the floor, punches it through a hole, and then keeps on going, basically killing Sing with little remorse. And he just might have too, but the Beast becomes distracted for just long enough for landlord and lady to grab Sing and make a break for it, as seen here. Ouch. No matter though, the Beast wants his revenge for being beaten. For now, landlady and lord are back home with a severely injured Sing. He's so broken that he's basically dead, and he should be, but somehow he's still hanging on for dear life. They wrap him up the best they can, hoping that he manages to pull through, and although he really shouldn't be, again, somehow, he's still alive. Lord and lady realize that Sing isn't the hopeless, useless, pretty pathetic street vagrant that they thought. In fact, there's a chance that he might be the one. But what does this mean? Basically, when the Beast was pummeling him earlier, it unlocked his chi flow, which has given him superhuman fighting abilities. Sing is a new man. As that gang arrive at Pigsty Alley ready to deal some damage, he wanders from inside all clean and healed from earlier, looking like Jesus on Easter Sunday. With perfect calm, he meets the Axe Gang. And what we get next is that scene eerily reminiscent of Neo taking down hundreds of Agent Smiths, only a lot better. He does it with ease, barely even having to try as he knocks one gang member after another, hoping that maybe, finally, today, he'll meet his match. Time for the final fight. The Beast versus Sing. Who's gonna win?
Not bad. Now what?
Hint, it's definitely going to be Sing. And although Beast manages to hold his own pretty well, it's clear right away that Sing is by far the better fighter. It's all the Beast can do to hold him back. Even small moments of victory are quickly undone by Sing's superior strength. With no other option, the Beast is forced to perform his ultimate move. The move sees the Beast transform into a half-toad sort of monster, a maneuver which sees him get the upper hand on Sing. He headbutts him through some walls, and then headbutts him into the sky, hundreds of miles high. But Sing's the hero here, and it's going to take more than that to stop him. He flies into the sky, uses an eagle to give himself a boost, waves hello to Buddha in the clouds, and then turns around and shoots himself like a bullet right back down to earth, right to where the Beast stands watching. As he shoots down, his palms turn to fire and he performs the long-lost Buddhist palm technique. It's too powerful, completely overwhelming the Beast. Even when the Beast surrenders and then tries to stab Sing in the back, Sing effortlessly performs it again, blasting a hole in the wall and stopping the Beast in his tracks. And now that the Beast is down and out and Sing has him on the ropes, he chooses not to kill him because character development or something. So, rather than doing what is probably the right thing and killing Beast, he decides to show some mercy, teaching him some new martial arts moves instead. And if that ending isn't happy enough for you, we next cut back to the city where Sing and Bone are working at a candy store. And once you know it, the ice cream girl who Sing has a crush on soon turns up and sees him. We get a sweet moment of them reconnecting on the street. And when it's all said and done, I think we can safely assume that they live happily ever after.
You have the structure and the chi flow of a kung fu genius.
And that's it, my friends. Thanks for chilling with us on the film Kung Fu Hustle, produced by Columbia Pictures, released back in 2004, directed by Stephen Chow. It stars Stephen Chow, Yuan Q, and Yuan Wah. All right, guys, what was your favorite exaggerated martial arts move, or any moment in this movie? Let us know down below with the hashtag Cinema Recap in the comments, slap a like if you felt it, and subscribe if you're not already with us, because we'd love to have you. As always, guys, till next time.